I'm Arthur Jacobs from Free University in Berlin, and I'm a professor of neurocognitive psychology. So my special area of research and interest is to understand this completely unnatural, artificial process which we call reading. And reading is actually a miracle because our brains were not made for learning to read, and evolution had no time to develop structures in the brain for reading. And if you think about it, you probably remember that it took many years for most of us, maybe including yourself, to learn how to read. And I think that reading is perhaps the most complex process of the human mind, and it's completely underestimated what reading does to the brain, and of course also to society and to culture. Yeah, for two reasons. First of all, because 150 years of scientific reading research has mainly focused on cognitive aspects, okay, and on clinical aspects. So how are perceptual and memory processes going on while you read? How can we teach children to learn more easily how to read and everything? And there was almost no scientific interest in the feelings people have when they read. But everybody knows that while you read a very moving poem, it can make you cry, it can make you happy, it can consolate you. And when you read a suspenseful novel, you can be very excited, you can feel fear, all kinds of emotions. And there was no scientific research into these processes until about 10 years ago. And then I met this Austrian poet, Paul Schrott, with whom I wrote a book called Brain and Poetry. And in this book we asked the simple question: how comes that a completely unnatural process like looking at blobs of ink on a page can make you cry and laugh? Okay, so from the scientific perspective of the neurosciences, nobody had answers to this question. And thanks to highly interdisciplinary work, so I, as a neuroscientist, worked with a poet, and then we met MANGEN, and we had these highly interdisciplinary projects. Thanks to these projects, we now start to understand a little bit better how reading a line of poetry or a passage of Harry Potter or of Marcel Proust can evoke true emotions in persons. And of course, as a neuroscientific researcher, I'm also interested what this does to our brains. And so we put people in a scanner, an fMRI scanner, and we have them read poetry or Harry Potter or novels, and we look into the brain structures that we know are associated with feelings, with emotions, with affect. And so we try to understand how the link between a purely symbolic activity like reading and true emotions can come about. Our research already has produced so useful results for librarians. I hope that ultimately what we produce as results will convince more and more people that reading is a fundamental activity of human life, and that the libraries and librarians are very important producers of cultural activities, but also of personal growth. I cannot imagine a society or a world where reading goes down and where only video clips or auditory stimulations create our inner mental life. So librarians, for the moment, I don't think they can immediately benefit from our research, but maybe from our book, which is unfortunately not translated into Lithuanian, not even in English. But I think we have a lot of arguments why reading is absolutely fundamental to human beings. It's probably the most human activity together with communication and that we can think about, although it's completely unnatural. And of course, reading not only contributes to personal growth and character development, but it also contributes, of course, depending on what you read, I think, to becoming a better society member. So libraries, hopefully, whether digital or non-digital, probably they should be more included into our research. I would hope so that Adam isn't here. Oh, sorry, I can't talk about Adam, but Adam isn't here. And when Adam was still in our project, we were thinking about a common project in a library where we study, and this is part of the project that Anne Mangen was talking about. We are also interested in studying reading in natural reading conditions, like in a library or at home in your favorite chair, not only in the lab or in the scanner. And I think there is a lot of important research to do together with interdisciplinary teams and also with librarians.
The main objective of eRead is to start mapping the effects and the impact of digitization on reading, and this is of course a topic that has relevance for very many stakeholders. So educational sector practitioners, the library and information science field, the book trade, publishers, and just citizens. What may change as we go from reading with paper being the main device or subscript of reading to reading on an increasing diversity of screens. So not only computer screens, but e-readers, Kindle, tablets like iPad, smartphones. So there are lots of changes going on, and we felt that this was a good opportunity to bring together many scholars and scientists involved in reading research, because there's a lot of reading research going on, and there's a lot of research on digitization of reading going on also, but it's carried out in isolation from each other. So even within psychology, for instance, scholars and teams and labs tend to perhaps stick to their paradigms and their methodologies and their preferred modes of approaching this issue. So the whole, one of the main points with eRead as a research network is to create this common ground, common meeting point, to bring together scholars and scientists from the different disciplines and carrying out empirical interdisciplinary work, assessing the effects of digitization on different kinds of reading. So children reading apps or print picture books, for instance, or studying whether it makes a difference if you read literature on an e-reader or on paper, or assessing what may be different with respect to the processes of reading, whether you read it on paper or on screens. There are so many unknowns in this field. So the digitization is a great opportunity to. It's a good common denominator for very many disciplines to go together and to do more interdisciplinary empirical work. Currently, about 180 researchers from 33 countries all over Europe. So it's quite a large network. And we have a little more than 1 year left of the networking funding. And then we are already in the process of thinking about the afterlife of the cost action. So applying for research funding from the EU is a main aim for the next couple of years.